Hey guys, what is going on? It is Ando, and today I've got probably one of the most important things when it comes to GAC and why I've been at least somewhat successful. But before we go into today's video, guys, I just want to thank you guys for subscribing to the channel. If you guys haven't, I would greatly appreciate it. We're on the road to 1,000. We're getting super close, and I am super pumped about it, guys. Thank you guys so much for those that have subscribed to the channel. And like I said, if you guys haven't yet, I would greatly appreciate it if you guys did, as well as leaving a comment and just commenting on this if this is helpful and this is stuff that you like to see, or giving a thumbs up. That's another way that I can tell that you guys are liking these videos. And without any further ado, guys, what we're going to talk about today is really turn order, speed versus turn meter. There's a ton of like just misconceptions out there about how you calculate some stuff. And I think this stuff should help, again, just determining who's going to go first. And that is super important in GAC and just really in this game in general. So without any further ado, guys, let's go ahead and get into the video. Okay, like all great things in this game, every single time that we bring out this piece of equipment, the most singular important thing in this, in this game is by far PowerPoint. It's just the easiest way, honestly. There's so much that's going on in here that I can just explain it like with like a couple simple slides. So I'm not going to try to get bogged down with some of the details, guys, because it can get a little bit overbearing. So if this first part feels a little bit slow, just I promise you we'll give you some real life examples. I'm more of a like, hey, when I see how to do it, it makes sense. But when someone's explaining it to me, I just, it's just words. So hopefully we help, capture both of those people that learn that the different way. But this is very big. There's so many misconceptions between speed and turn meter, and it's, it's a key concept for sure. Okay, so again, not trying to insult anyone's intelligence here, but hey, speed is a flat number. It's used to determine turn order. Again, I'm trying to explain it so that way everyone understands. Turn order is the order in which characters will take turns. Kind of makes sense, right? But speed is found in the character's stat screen, right? You can just go into the stats and just look at it. It's always important to check before hitting battle because you want to know, hey, who's the fastest guy? Am I going to be the fastest? And is he going to be the fastest? And you don't need to be the fastest in every single battle. There are teams that are built to withstand an opening barrage, but the more you know going into it, the better you are, or at least the more prepared you are to lose certain things or lose banners in certain ways. So that's why it's so important to check. And that's, again, kind of going to this third bullet. More speed equals more turns first. So, again, spreading out your speed, making sure that whatever team it is has at least one fast guy, right? It's usually the guy that tries to get the turn meter going. But that equals more for turns first, which equals more situations you are controlling, right? It's not the AI or your opponent's defensive team that's taking that opening barrage. It's you controlling the situation, and that usually equals more battles won. Which that leads into, hey, why are there such a huge desire for high speed secondaries on mods? You can't see this last bullet, but I'll do my best to just explain it. Things that affect speed, leaderships, uniques, right? So leaderships like, hey, SWGOH, right? Plus 30 speed to first order. Uniques, some of them say, gain speed up, right? Stuff like that. And then actually just the buff speed up, speed down. Ferocity has a little bit. Those are just some examples of things that are affecting that flat number, base speed. And you could really even throw turn meter in there eventually, but I don't want to get the two confused. Okay, so turn meter. All right, turn meter is not like speed because it's a percentage, right? It's you never see something that says, hey, gain 25 turn meter. It's always a percentage, and it's used to determine how it'll affect turn order, right? So again, everyone's kind of got this turn meter bar, which is kind of the second bullet. Hey, the only representation of this is like you can't go into the stats and look it up, but it's because you can't do that because it's all determined by when you select your squad and against your opponent to go against their squad. right? That's how the turn order is determined, and all that is determined by their turn meter. And so the blue bar is how we can best determine turn meter and how much we need in order to get the full turn. Turn meter usually starts to take over after the initial opening, right? So the first guy, he might go first on you, but eventually there's so many turn meter manipulations in this game, whether it's Watt's turn meter or weapons blast tech, which is, I've just renamed it to the turn meter tech because it's not really a weapons tech anymore, or just turn meter gains, turn meter, stopping turn meter gains. Like there's so much manipulation within all this stuff, losing turn meter, etc. So yeah, there's a ton of it, guys. Like there's so many kits that take this over. So that's why I said like the speeds and all that stuff really just kind of matter for that first guy. Everything after that usually starts moving over to turn meter. And then I said, hey, things that affect turn meter is leaderships. Guys like SLKR again, he gives like I think 20% or something like that whenever supports gain advantage. Uniques, another one that's like, hey, Hux, when his unique doesn't allow turn meter gains if he has advantage. So those are things that you got to think about, like when you're thinking about your team comp and what you're going to bring in, as well as dazed, shocked, a character speed, right? That's going to affect, hey, how much is turn meter going into it, and just kind of other stuff as well. All right, so the next thing that we're going to do is the maths, right? And again, don't get too afraid by this. It looks harder than it actually is. Once you start to practice it, it actually becomes a lot easier, and we got some examples later on. Let me see if I can move my head up so that way you can actually see stuff. Okay, so for speed, right, the most common thing that we see is characters' base speed plus the leadership is their effective speed, right? So you got, some character hit whatever his base speed is, and then he's got, his leadership gives him plus 30, right? That's going to be his effective base speed, right? Now, in situations where there's a speed manipulation that's happening, before or just within a unique, you're always going to, kind of multiply that. And the biggest ones that I can think of are like speed up, or, Rex is unique because it is a percentage that's going to be happening. So again, those multiplications are only for like percentages of speed. And it's really, really important to, again, figure out, hey, is this speed or is this turn meter that we're trying to calculate for? And uniques always take precedence over a leadership, right? Or priority, or whatever you want to call it. So in many cases, right, characters base speed, and again, the multiplication is only if it's saying to multiply it by some percentage speed or something like that. There are uniques out there that are just adding speed as well. So just be careful, like that might be a little bit confusing, but you're always going to add the unique first, whatever it is, and then you'll add the leadership afterward. And then that's what we're going to call the effective speed, because again, it's how we're going to determine effective speed is how we're going to determine the turn orders. And then for turn meter, it's the character's base speed, and any uniques kind of, again, following through this, divided by 1 minus the turn meter gain is going to be the character effective speed. All right, again, I don't want you guys to get bogged down with this. Like, I know that it looks intimidating, but like I said, we'll go through some examples and hopefully you can see what we're talking about. So some really basic examples of speed. So Kylo Ren unmasked leadership gives 30 speed to all first order allies. OG Kylo is 250 base speed, right? So he is a 280 effective speed on OG Kylo Ren. The other way to think about that is, hey, if OG Kylo is your fastest character, right, someone else on the opposing team needs to be at least 281. If they're 280, that you got to, you go into the awesome coin flip. But if it's 281, they're going to take the first turn, right? So you have to have someone that's effectively faster than OG Kylo Ren. All right, another one is GAS 501st, right? Again, There's no speed gain from actual gas lead, but if we have a 300 speed Rex with his unique, and again, remember, it's very, very important to remember this. And there's all 501st allies, right? You got the fives, you got, Arc and Echo and all that good stuff, right? Because it's a 4% speed gain for every 501st ally in that team, and there's 5 of them, to include Rex and to include General Skywalker, you're going to multiply his 300 base speed times 1.2. And again, we got 1.2 because it's a 20% speed increase. So we're just basically trying to find Rex's effective speed in this. Okay, so hopefully that's not too confusing. Okay, some examples of TM. So in a BAM led team, I'm gonna play I'm gonna make sure that we did everything right and that Queel was fast enough, and he was the first one to go. So in this example, we've got a 250 speed Beskar Mando, and with Queel's 25% turn meter gain move, we are going to do 250 divided by 1 minus 0.25, or aka 0.75, to get Beskar Mando's effective speed at 333. 0.33 repeating, of course. It actually is repeating. But I thought that'd be a good little shout there. But yeah, basically, guys, and this is how we determine, hey, how do you make an effective team in this? And to kind of take this a step further, right? So ideally, you would want to make sure that, Queel is going to be the first one to take a turn, obviously, and to make sure that nothing is breaking the turn meter, you would want to make sure that, hey, Queel is 334 speed. So that way, when he gives turn meter to Beskar Mando, the 25%, that Beskar Mando moves next. So that way, no one's breaking that turn meter up. So that way, he's now 333. And then you would want to make sure your next guy is 330, 2, right? And so on and so forth, right? Like, that's how a lot of these teams are kind of found out on what we need that speed to be like. So you just kind of have to backwards math it. Okay, so another example of TM is, Darth Vader, right? It will just say he's at a base speed of 280. His unique is plus 16, so that gives him a 296 effective. But just kidding, we are using the blast tech, or the turn meter tech, like I said, from Watt on him. And because one of your opponents has made a move, that's kind of the clause in there, that every time an opponent makes a move, right, the guy with the turn meter tech gets 15% turn meter. So it's really going to be his effective speed divided by 0.85. Now, this was really, really, really important back in the days of Rey, when Darth Vader was counting Rey. That's not really the case anymore. So this is just kind of an old callback. But again, it's really important to remember, like, hey, that was a unique with adding speed, but we have also a turn meter mechanic in there, whenever they move, when your opponents move. So again, another just important thing to remember, and how do we calculate it. Okay, now we're going to go to graduate level. And again, this is kind of like just to prove a point, like how you would kind of figure out, hey, how's your slowest guy? Okay, so there's a lot of numbers in here, so let me explain. So the first line right here, 300, we have a 300 speed Shock T, we have a 300 speed Rex, 250 speed Arc, 260 speed Echo, and 220 speed Fives. All right, so you kind of want to determine, hey, make sure that I'm going first, or like if you've ever been like, oh, dude, this is gonna be so easy, right? Like why would they even do this? And then you like go in, like potentially get like annihilated, and you're just like, wow, that was crazy. How, like, why did I not move first? Because there's so much happening within this team to make them go so fast. So this first line is gonna be the Rex unique. Again, remember, we're adding uniques before leads. So Rex unique only counts 501st clones, or 501st allies, I should say. So Shock T is not a 501st ally, so she's gonna stay at 300 speed. And remember now, because we don't have gas or a fifth member of the 501st, that 0.2, you know, the 20% speed is actually going to be 16% speed because it's only 4% per 501st. So, you know, 300 times 1.16 is going to be 348 and so on and so forth, right? So we're adding all that speed up to all the allies. And then after that happens, right, we're going to add Shaak Ti's leadership, which is a 35 flat speed to that. So Shaak Ti goes from 300 to 335. Rex goes from 383 now, and so on and so forth. Now, just to make like an argument of like, hey, you know, Rex is gonna go first, right? He's 383 speed effective. What does the rest of the team look like once they get that turn meter boost? And Rex is not truly like that because he's already kind of taken his turn by the time he does form up, but it's just to show you the math behind it. So Rex form up is a 60% turn meter gain for 501st allies or clone allies as well. And it's half of that for any other allies. So it's a 30% turn meter gain. So when you're calculating, you know, Shaak Ti's difference, you're going to be just doing, 335 divided by 0.70 because that's the 30%. And again, for the 501st, you can see what that would do. So effectively, again, just to kind of play like to kind of reinforce this idea, you would need to have someone that is, you know, 812 speed to kind of step in place here and interrupt the turn meter train that is going. Or sorry, you would actually need to have someone that's at 813 speed to interrupt. If you, let's just say you thought that you don't want Arc to spread out his turret, right? You would need someone that is 813 effective speed in order to kind of interrupt Arc from doing that, right? Like maybe the next guy has a stun or maybe he has an ability block that we can get to. But that's kind of just showing like, hey, what it can turn into. And again, it's just, it sounds like a lot, but it really does. And knowing kits is definitely going to help, guys. But I'm telling you guys, if you guys actually take just 2 or 3 minutes before every battle, just check some speeds and you'll start to know, hey, who's going to be the fastest guy on this roster, right? Like who's going to be the fastest guy on this team? 9 times out of 10, it's going to be Rex just because of how much speed he is. Now, the way that this gets a little bit messed up is like, let's say you have Han shoots first, right? And then there's a turn meter gain that happens because of Rex, or sorry, with fives, because you're attacking someone, or Shaak Ti, right? She gains turn meter based off of how how many clones are getting hurt. So there's some stuff that goes on with this, and again, knowing kits definitely helps. But if you just take 2 or 3 minutes before a battle, just check some speeds, make sure that you're good, check the modding or whatever, make sure that the battle makes sense to you. I guarantee you guys that like the mistakes of, wow, I just didn't really expect this to come, or the guy that just like curses at their phone saying, oh, it's just RNG this time, it's probably due to a modding issue. So guys, I hope this was helpful. I don't want this to go on. If you guys have any questions, drop by our Discord. The link is in the description below. I'm glad to answer it. I definitely want this video to be out there. I'm tired of calculating everyone's speed and everyone's turn meter. So I hope this makes sense. But like I said, don't hesitate to ask, any questions about it, because I just want to make sure you guys are successful in GAC, especially now that there's crystals. Unless it's against me. If it's against me, then don't be successful. I don't want that to happen. Thanks guys so much for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next one.